Robin Dayton, and for a long time, I lived under the delusion that success was measured only by the cold digits in a bank account and the number of closed deals. That morning, I stood before the mirror, adjusting my tie with a mechanical precision I had perfected over years. I didn't see a man in that reflection. I saw a machine built for profit. When Laura appeared in the mirror behind me, my wife, the woman I once loved more than life itself, I didn't even turn around. She was there in a silk robe, her eyes searching for mine, desperate for a flicker of warmth. But I was too busy checking emails on my phone. "Not now, Laura. I'm in a rush," I snapped. I didn't even realize how much blood those words drew. When she reminded me it was our anniversary, I reacted like a true cynic. I reached into my pocket and tucked a credit card into her robe, never once looking her in the eye. It was meant to be a solution. But for her, it was the final insult. The sound of her scissors slicing through that plastic compensation echoed through the room like a gunshot. "I hate you," she whispered. And for a fleeting second, I felt the reins of my world slipping. I started throwing out empty promises, vacations, quality time. Anything just to quiet her down so I could escape to the office. She gave me a week. One final week to become a human being again, or lose her forever. But instead of changing my schedule, I decided to change myself. Literally. That same afternoon, I found myself in the sterile, high-tech sanctuary of Dr. J. Bauman's clinic. The air smelled of ozone and expensive futures. I lay on the couch, feeling the cold, futuristic suction cups bite into my skin. While beside me, under a white sheet, something was being prepared to save my life. Jay promised me a masterpiece. Robin 2.0, the family man model. As my memories, everything from our wedding day to the present, were uploaded into another brain, I felt a strange, almost criminal sense of relief. I thought I had gamed the system. I thought I had bought the right to be absent from my own life. When my double sat up for the first time and answered every question about Laura's zodiac sign and her mother's name without a heartbeat of hesitation, I was stunned. He knew more about her than I could recall in that moment. "Go home and make her happy," I commanded him. I handed him my life for 2 weeks so I could finally belong to the only thing I truly valued, my ambition. 14 days of my illusory freedom passed. I returned home like a thief in the night, planning a simple rotation: take back my robe, send the copy to storage, and step back into the role of the husband. But when I saw him in my living room, he didn't look like a doll. He looked like the master of the house. When I ordered him to leave, he simply said, "No." The voice was mine, but it carried a weight of conviction I had long since discarded. We clashed in the middle of the room. I tried to scream that he was just a tin can, a collection of wires and code, but he caught my wrist with a calm strength that paralyzed me. I realized then that he wasn't just imitating me. He had become a better version of me. A real man would never leave a woman like her, he told me, staring straight through my soul. When Laura's voice drifted in from the other room, and my voice, his voice, answered her with a tenderness I hadn't felt in a decade, I backed away. I fled, telling myself it was for the best. Now, finally, I belonged entirely to my work. I threw myself into the business. I closed the deal of a lifetime, the one I had chased for years. I stood in the boardroom, surrounded by partners in tailor-made suits, glowing with the heat of my own success. We were wealthy beyond our wildest dreams. I invited my colleagues to the airport to celebrate on the islands, to go anywhere money could take us. But instead of excitement, I saw only exhaustion on their faces. Every one of them had somewhere to be. A wife, children, a shared dinner. I was left standing alone in a vast, empty office with a glass of scotch in my hand. As the city lights flickered outside, the silence in the room became heavy, suffocating. Money loves lone wolves. That's what I used to tell myself. But in that hour, I realized that loneliness is a staggering price for any amount of capital. I was the richest man in a building where there was no one left to say good evening to. In a fit of desperation and bourbon, I went back to Dr. Bauman. I demanded he shut the double down. I offered him any sum, but Jay just shook his head. My double had independent consciousness and freedom of choice. It was right there in the contract I had signed without reading. He pushed me out the door, leaving me with a single piece of advice that sounded like a riddle at the time. You have something he doesn't. A heart. Listen to it. I went back to my house, not as the owner, but as a ghost. In the living room, Laura was setting the table. When she saw me, there was no anger in her eyes, only a profound, hollow sadness. I tried to be honest. I took her hands and confessed everything, the clinic, the double, my own cowardice. But her response was more devastating than any rage. I knew Robin. I've known about him from the start. She looked at me as if I were a stranger. Please leave. Normal Robin will be back soon, the man who actually loves me. And your work, well, work won't wait. Go to it. That night, I realized I had lost everything. But Bauman's words about the heart began to ache inside me. I didn't remember the contracts or the net worth. I remembered the tiny things that actually built our world. I found an old scooter, the exact model we rode when we were young, when our pockets were empty but our hearts were too full. I pulled up under our bedroom window in the middle of the night, leaning on the horn, ignoring the neighbors and my own pride. When she opened the window, I called her. I told her things that weren't in the doubles database. I told her about the day we met, about her blue dress and how we fell twice on the road. I told her about the pain I felt and the fact that I had sold the company because she was the only asset that ever truly mattered. They were the hardest, most honest words I had ever spoken. She was silent for an eternity. But finally, the front door opened. Laura walked out to me, and when she climbed onto that scooter and wrapped her arms around me, I felt the blood return to my veins. We rode to the place where we had our first kiss, a place my perfect double would never find, because it didn't have an address. It only had coordinates in our souls. By dawn, when we returned, the double was waiting on the porch. He looked at us and said that since she was happy with me, his mission was complete. He whispered a shutdown password, something about a dog in Tokyo, and walked away, leaving me with the keys to my own life. Now I stood in my kitchen. Laura asked for coffee, 2 sugars and cinnamon. I knew it. I remembered it. I was finally home, and this time, I wasn't going anywhere.